handshake between the players, and Yan starts off the game with pawn to d4. Queen's pawn opening it is. And Vidit always takes his time before his first move, gets into the groove, focusing himself, calming himself down. Let's see what his response is going to be here. And he goes knight to f6. We have pawn to c4 played. And e6. Will we see Yan going for knight f3? He goes knight c3. He's inviting Vidit for the Nimzo Indian. But Vidit can go d5 and play the Queen's Gambit declined. He goes for the Nimzo. Let's go. This is going to be a fight. We all remember the cool games that we saw in Norway chess between Gukesh and Pragnananda. It was from the Nimzo Indian. e3 played the Rubinstein system, which is supposed to be very solid. One of the main moves is d5, castles, c5, b6. Many moves. He castles here. And white can go between bishop d3, knight e2, knight f3, a3, many options here. He goes a3. You know, whenever the move a3 is played in Nimzo, I feel it makes the game very sharp. That's because you are essentially wasting time as white to get yourself doubled pawns in the hope that your bishop pair will do well. And black, on the other hand, decides that positionally they are better. They just have to kind of mount pressure on this pawn. Bishop comes to d3, and now the thing is, he goes bishop b7, because if bishop a6, e4, this is quite a sharp line. Anyway, bishop b7, f3, Nepo is well prepared. He blocks the bishop. Pawn comes up to c5 for Vidit. And now e4 instantly, opening up this bishop. And this pin can become really, really worrisome because black does not have a dark squared bishop. You remember it was given up on c3, which is the reason why Vidit goes knight e8. It's a typical way to meet e4. And the point is you also free up the f pawn to move forward. Okay, knight h3 with the idea of knight f2. You have queen h4 check. Vidit trying to be a bit creative. He could have continued normally, but he wants to give a check. g3 is impossible. The knight is hanging, so the knight comes to f2. And now maybe knight to c6. That's what Vidit plays. His idea is take, and simply win the pawn on d4. Okay, the bishop comes to e3, defending here. Also attacking the c5 pawn, so d6 looks interesting, and f5 played. And look at the clock timing. Vidit has 1 hour 3 minutes, while Nepo has 1 hour 32 minutes. Okay, very interesting move by the way from Vidit. D takes c5, and now the move that Vidit could play potentially is take, but what a tempting move to play f4. Because if the bishop goes back, b takes c5 and black is better. But g3, beautiful move by Yan. He plays his pawn to g3. He asks a question to Vidit. Vidit takes the pawn because otherwise he would have lost the pawn on f4. He takes it on g3. H3 attacking the queen. And now queen takes g3. The f3 pawn is hanging. So rook h3 played. Wow. Okay. And if you now, want to do okay because there's another pawn hanging. So check makes a lot of sense. And now bishop f1. He plays his bishop back to f1. For Vidit, he has to go out because the thing is, if you play this, knight g4 simply traps the queen. That's so bad. So he goes queen g6 back. And Nepo now goes and says, I want to take another pawn. You know, such positions for me seem like really dangerous for white. Your king is in the center. Your pawns are all mangled and weak. The rook is open here. Vidit will take on b6 and open up the other rook. Yeah, it looks crazily dangerous. But the engine says white is doing fine. In fact, even better because d7 pawn is hanging. And now you can see the b7 bishop is hanging, but there's knight e5, f3, take here, knight d6, some stuff. But okay, Vidit plays simple chess, defends the bishop, the queen comes back, and maybe knight e5 is a tempting move here, but maybe there's f4. So he goes bishop a6, a cool move by Vidit, putting pressure on a6. While Vidit is playing really well, the thing that's worrying is his time. He's down to 30 minutes, while Yan has 1 hour 15 minutes. Take here, and you lose material. So he goes rook d7, pinning here, which is not a good move. The better move was e5 or queen f6, because he simply plays queen h2, comes out of the pin. The knight could now threaten knight f4, and the h pawn is hanging. So he goes queen f6. Again, the thing is, h6 is too weakening here. You know, there could be potential sacrifices. So queen f6, Vidit is like, I'm going to take the pawn on c3, and Yan takes on h7. Wow, that's just a brilliant game by Yan. He's giving up c3, he's giving up a1. Vidit says, good or bad, I must take it. What else? Why else did I bring my queen here? King f2, and now, boom, take this rook. Queen A1. He takes it. But 11 minutes for Vidit. 1 hour 5 minutes for Jan. Check. Okay, King F7 has to come up. I mean, where else do you go? What is Vidit thinking? And Queen H5 check. Okay, King E7 is game, like E5, very strong move. And Bishop G5 ideas. So he goes G6. And now this incredibly strong move, Queen H6. Threatening a mate. Again, if King E7, Queen F8 is just over, I take on E8. So he has to go Queen G7. And now Rook H7. You win the Queen. He takes on C4. What a unbelievable chess Jan is playing. Knight F4. He's just finishing it off in style. Bishop takes F1. But now you can take the Queen. You can also take on G6 because the Queen is pinned. Take on G6, King G8. And now Rook G7. Have to take it. Knight takes G7. And the very strong move, Knight H5 finishes it off. No, he takes on E6. With it is back. Knight H5 was just game over. If King, this is a threat. This is hanging. If King F8, there's Knight takes G7, Rook G7, and Bishop H6. Game over. I mean, what? Rook F8, you have King takes F1, you win the piece. Oh my goodness. He makes a huge mistake and now Knight E5 attacks the Queen. Vidit is back in the game. Queen G3. Okay, Bishop hanging, Knight hanging. He comes back with the Bishop. If Queen E5 here, Knight takes E6 and Black is doing well. So he goes Knight G5. Now count the pieces. Black has 2 rooks and a piece, but Vidit has only 41 seconds. A check. So Vidit is actually ahead materially here. But his king is super weak. He makes a mistake. He should have played something like Rook E8. Knight H5, Queen G4 attacks the Knight and the Rook, but Knight F6 attacks the Queen, defends the Rook. Queen F5 attacks the Knight. Yeah. Oh, what's going to happen next? Rook F8 defends the Knight. And E5 attacks the Knight. If the Knight moves, Rook hangs. So many tactics here, and look at Jan's time, he still has an hour. We are on move 38. 2 more moves and Vidit gets 30 extra minutes. Can he handle the position? Jan is better, but it's no longer so clear because look at this, 2 pieces, 2 pieces. So it's Queen for 2 rooks, Rook G7, pinning the Knight. A4 played by Jan. He's attacking this pawn and hoping that his A pawn plays a key role. Knight at 7, attacking the Rook, attacking the Knight. It's 40th move. Vidit gets up. He was down to 5 seconds there. F4, defending the Knight. Whew. Man, what incredible chess. And by the way, in Norway chess, the pressure would continue, right? Because there's only 10-second increment. But here you get 30 extra minutes. So things calm down once again. Bishop takes B6. Maybe not the best move. He could have played BD4 and Jan was winning. But Bishop B6 gives an extra opportunity of Knight D7, attacking the Queen and the Bishop. And once you take it, F4 is hanging. G5 would be pinned. And Vidit Gujrathi is back in this game with his chances. He's thinking here. And he goes Knight D7. Excellent move. Jan, well, I think he had seen it. He goes Queen D4 and his point is if Knight B6, which is what Vidit wants to do, he didn't want to take the Knight, but he wanted to play A5 so that he can take here with the pawn. But Rook D7 is such a good move because now you have to take the Knight and now Rook takes F4. I'm amazed at how Vidit has calculated this well. The check and attacking the Rook is met with Rook F8, so King comes up to G3. And I don't know where to put the Rook. Maybe Rook FD4. He goes back Rook F8, which seems fine. But the A pawn is strong. The Knight is lurking around. Who is winning? I mean, Vidit would love to sacrifice his Rook for the Knight and a pawn. It will be Rook Bishop versus Queen, which is a draw. He goes Rook G7. Pinning here once again. Maybe there's Queen C5. King G4. Ooh. But oh, can we go Bishop E2 check? King H4, Rook F4. He goes for a check. King H4 and Rook check. Nice. King can't go here and here. Has to come to H3. King G3, maybe Rook G4 and I win this knight. So King H3 and he goes and takes the pawn. If Queen takes A6, Rook G5. So check is a must. But now you go Rook F7 because if you go King F8, Queen D6 and you lose the Rook. If you go King H8, there is Queen E8 check and that's a problem. So Rook F7 takes on F7 and now Bishop check. Because look, if you take here, this is a winning endgame. No questions asked. Rook versus Queen. We don't talk about it. Okay, takes. And now Vidit has Rook and Bishop. And this should be a draw. But the only problem is that the white king and queen are just too close to the black king. Queen D6 and now Bishop G2. Okay, the dream scenario for Vidit is if the Bishop comes here, defended by the Rook, and the king is here, I mean, then it's all done. It's a draw. But right now the Bishop is a bit loose. He goes King G8, maybe not needed. Okay, King G6 is met with Rook G7. There's no way the king can come close. So Queen E6 makes sense, pinning the Rook. What a game this is turning out to be. And absolutely insane. He goes Queen D4. The Queen comes back. And now king h7 with the idea of check. Maybe it's possible. Jan goes queen e4 and Vidit can simply play king to g7. He plays it, but he's down to 2 minutes again. And that's the thing. And look at Jan's time. He has 1 hour 16 minutes. And by the way, queen d5 allows bishop h3 now to bd7. Can Vidit find this? Finds it with just 34 seconds and gets a 30 seconds more. Has 1 minute 4 seconds. Check. King h7 or no, king g8. Go to g8 because king h7 there's queen h2. No, he goes king h7. He misses this point because now queen h2 and Jan pins the bishop. Oh my god, the things have just gone downhill for Vidit. Check to the king. King goes back. And the thing is, you can go rook f6 because if king h3 there's rook h6. If queen h3 there's rook h6. But he goes king g6 with the idea of rook h5. But queen g3 check. And now king f6. He could have gone king f7, taken here. But this is also a lost queen versus rook endgame. So king f6, check. King f7. And now king takes h3. Now Jan only has to show technique of rook versus queen, which he learned as a little kid. You know, what every Russian schoolboy knows. And this is something that he's going to do it easily. King g4 comes in. I mean, Vidit could resign here, but why not play on? There was a very famous game between Swidler and Gelfand from the World Cup where I think the side with the queen could not win. But here also the king has been pushed back a lot. So that's really bad. And one of the things that I learned in these endgames is that the queen is like the air force. It stays a little far like this. It controls good squares and the king is like the army, the infantry. It comes closer. So check. King f7. King f5. And with it hanging in there, queen e5 again. Just bringing and centralizing the queen. And now queen check. King g7. Another queen check. King f7. Queen d8. A zugzwang time. The rook has to go far away. The good news is there's no check that can win the rook here directly. Maybe there is. I don't know. King e8. Queen check from b5. And now he slowly downs on you. If king f8, there could be a check losing the rook. So king f7. But now another check. He's trying to move on the light square so as to not have a check and lose the rook. But king f6 is such a cool move. Look at this. The air force doing its job. King d7. And now queen d4 check. This time I don't see a way to be okay. Check and you have to go on the dark square now. And so king d8 and queen a5 check finishes the game. He gives a check with his hand there and Vidit resigns. Jan Nepomniachtchi wins with 1 hour 19 minutes on the clock. That's insane time usage. Vidit came under time pressure twice and all of that, and you can see them analyzing there. There was so many interesting moments, so much chess content in this. It was one of those amazing games between these two players. Hard luck for Vidit. He fought like amazingly well, but Nepo was in his element. I mean, if he had found knight h5 instead of knight e6, it would have been a modern day brilliancy this entire game, but he did not. And then Vidit fought, and then in the end, well, Nepo triumphed. We're going to leave you with the interview that we did with Jan Nepomniachtchi, where he goes over some of the lines from this game.
Nepo, what a nice bounce back win from yesterday to today, and I think many interesting moments in the game. First off, I was interested to see that this f5 by Vidit is actually the first new move in the position. Before that, there is a game of Sergei Dolmatov.
Really?
Yeah, right.
An old one,
yeah, very old. Like, what was the preparation till that exact moment? Was f5 in your files?
No, I mean, I think Vidit doesn't have too many games in this line, and also like recently, so he doesn't have too many experience. So basically, I was lucky to see he had like a blitz game against Fabiano, whatever, like on 2nd of June.
Okay.
And then he played this move b6, so I checked b6 because okay, b6 is maybe the least principled move, but I mean, of course, it also exists. So you're just basically not trying this d6 e5, which is like so fashionable right now. And how I prepared a little bit, and well, I'm not sure if it's more precise to start with bishop e3 over knight h3, but knight h3, I didn't really expect queen h4 to be such a nice option, but maybe it's playable. And then, well, I believe I just trusted in my position, so I thought it's like quite decent, you know. And I mean, f5 is a little bit provocative, but I really like this idea for g3 to open up files, and basically I only needed to find like a nice move order to make things work. And also, unfortunately for him, I guess a lot of tactical ideas doesn't work his way. You know, the queen and g1 always getting trapped and so on. Or if you got queen g6, then ideas like e5 are coming, so you should take also into account. So, I mean, yeah, like I'm a bit lucky that in all this scramble, I was on top. But basically, it was like the type of position I wanted to achieve when I played this line. So, I'm not sure what's the objective evaluation. I was satisfied with getting all this mess.
Yeah, even according to the engines, f5 is not the best actually, and it actually gives you this whole f5, and then after gf3, all this is supposed to be quite like bad for him. But then did it feel like after this knight h5, which you could not find,
Okay, like knight h5 I wanted to play obviously, but I mean for some reason I just panicked, so I calculated line like rook f8, bishop h6, rook takes f3, and then like wow, king f3, knight e5 check, and somehow I didn't see like knight h5, rook f8, that here I can simply take on f1 and doesn't care anymore, like because I mean the difference is, I mean if it really exists, that somehow I calculated first. I mean, something like king f1, rook takes f3, and then this like sort of went from one line to another. And of course, like knight h5 was my idea when I played. Okay, this line thing calculated, and I saw wow, knight h5 isn't working. Maybe knight h6 is just he's in time trouble. And this was like this probably could spoil like quite a decent game in my opinion, because like humanly I felt like this sacrifice only one is correct. No, not really.
Yeah. You are exactly right. That's what I'm trying to say. And but after this, it felt like a whole another game because the dynamics of the position entirely changed. And how did you navigate through that? Like you kept your time basically. The time edge remained the same for you.
No, I was very lucky that he managed to blunder. And it was still move 37 or something. So he sort of got nervous. This line knight h5, queen h3, knight h7, a lot of tactics. So he went into some line which is, I mean, maybe not losing, but really unpleasant for him. Then if I queen e5, e5, first of all, I just win a piece back, yeah. So, and then I think a4 was a nice touch because basically if he plays b5, it's maybe it's not fortress, but it's somewhat easy for him to play. But after a4, and like he never has this b5, he never can find the stability. So yeah, I'm not sure that bishop b6 probably would be a mistake. I think bishop d4 was the correct move, and after knight h5, king g1 or king h2, and basically he's bound like he doesn't have any moves. And just, this is like domination, and maybe then later I can win pawns slowly. Yeah.
And then the pure ending which came up, this queen versus rook and bishop. How did you evaluate that one?
I evaluated it's probably a draw with precise play, but I was unsure if maybe I can find some zugzwang, because maybe I should have played queen e6 instead of queen d5, to turn to let him make a move in this position. Probably should be a draw with some precise defense, but I wasn't like quite sure that if it's like simple or not really. So I always have like a bunch of checks like here and there. And whenever I get a position queen e5 plus king h6, it should be winning, but unless his bishop is on d7. So that's what I missed, and I mean, I wanted to get this position from distance, like from afar, but somehow, like the way he played, I think he could hold with king g8, like queen b8, like king goes, king g7, queen d2, king g8, king h6, bishop d7, queen b8 back, let's say rook f8, queen d3, always rook f7, and I don't think I can really achieve some progress here. So he's basically one move before the fortress, like bishop e8, and maybe I'm simply not in time to jump with my queen on d8 to win the game. So it's a bit unfortunate, but okay. At the same time, yeah, of course, he was in second-time trouble, so he didn't defend perfectly.
And Nepo, just one final question. Before you came here, there was this match against Hans in Belgrade, and then you came, I think, right the day of the technical meeting, and there was this moment where you did not shake hands with Hans at the start of the technical meeting. Maybe you would like to share a bit about that?
I don't want to, spend too much time talking on this, but basically, I was really unsatisfied with his behavior, in the last day of the match. I mean, like even at the board, I don't think it was like respectful neither to chess nor for me. Despite he played a very good game against me, like in the last game, but I mean, overall his behavior, I found it sort of. I mean, he's not a teenager anymore, yeah. So would it be like 4 years ago? I wouldn't be like too thrilled, but I believe like when he's like 20 plus finally, he probably has to learn how to behave. Yeah. So I mean, all in all, like his dedication to chess is commendable, but his behavior is not. And then the communication after the match with him, basically he just stopped answering.